hope that we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful program, because I've got three gentlemen in the studio here who really have a lot to say. But we'll come back after this.
At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about. How it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Welcome back. Now, can Ethiopia remain the same after its internal war with Tigray Liberation Front? We asked this question 3 weeks ago, and we had very interesting people who came down and, attempted to answer that question. Now, towards the end of the 2020, a civil war broke out in the Horn of Africa. This time, it was an internal war with a country that has been stable for decades and admired by many other African countries, both at home and abroad. Ethiopia, the country that has the headquarters of African Union in its capital city, Addis Ababa, was at war with herself. War broke out between the regional government of Tigray, led by the Tigray People's Liberation Front, and the federal government, led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The question is, why? Why? And that's something we're trying to address again today. Now, almost a month ago, as I said, Africa Speaks hosted Ethiopian academician and an author from Eritrea who gave reasons why Prime Minister Abiy took the steps that he did. Were they right? If you go back to that program, you'll have a look and see the answers that they gave. Now, the question on everybody's mind, especially in Africa, Tigray People's Liberation Front has a different view, and that view was never discussed properly in this program, in the other program that we did, because we had the side that was the other side of the government, obviously. Now, with me in the studio are three gentlemen. They have some knowledge on the area. One of them, amazingly, has been visiting the area for quite a long time, and he has a lot to say about that war. The first one is Absalem Delay, Dr. Absalem Delay. Hope I pronounced your name right. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Andrew Robbins, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And Mr. Giselle Lehan, the second name. You could probably announced that properly.
Sorry.
Yeah. Welcome to the program as well. Now, the first thing that I really want our viewers to understand is that although we went into the depth of the war and why at the time the Prime Minister did what he did, there are a number of other things that we never went in. Now, things which are never addressed are usually the backgrounds, the history of what was never dealt with in the past that comes back to haunt the present. Is there anything you can tell us that probably the history is affecting the present, or what can be done so that this kind of thing can't be repeated again? Because instead of putting a blame finger on who's who, there must be somewhere where there is that element of saying, we all know what happened, we know what is going on, but who is to blame?
Well, I think if you're asking a question from a historical perspective, I think it might be a slightly kind of red herring kind of approach, because there's a war in Africa, and as I'm sure you know, most wars in Africa have some elements of outside influence. So I think that
but they also have historical backgrounds.
Yes, but they're usually exploited by those outside influences. I don't know how deeply you want to go into that.
No, just a short, something short.
Yeah.
In terms of...
in my historical understanding, Ethiopia today is at one of those kind of junctures where it can be a deal breaker in terms of the international community and their interest in Africa, and a deal breaker or a deal maker.
Okay.
And it was at this stage, under Menelik II's reign in Ethiopia, when he very astutely steered his way through lots and lots of influence from outside. So that was another period of time when there was lots of interest in Africa. So Ethiopia is again at one of those stages. That's my analysis.
Okay. What do you other guys think?
Well, I think if you go back to the history of Ethiopia years and years back, we will not have enough time. It will be better if we concentrate on since Abiy Ahmed came along in 2018. Abiy Ahmed came along in 2018. He has been accepted by all the people of Ethiopia, including Tigray.
Yeah.
He has been welcomed by everyone in the entire country, from up and down of the country.
Yeah.
He is the one who started creating the problem. If I go back to the pro-government demonstration in the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, it was June. The first pro-government demonstration was a large number of population was gathered, and then a bomb exploded.
Okay.
And then he called it an attempt to kill the Prime Minister. And then he immediately finger pointed at TPLF. And then he called the Tigrayans the daytime hyenas. That was when the problem started. We started thinking, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then a few months later, weeks later, I would say, the engineer of the Renaissance Dam, Semenyo Bekele, was killed in broad daylight in the capital of Ethiopia, in Addis again.
Yeah.
And he immediately, TPLF was behind the killing. So the pro-demonstration people who were red-handed at that time, none of them were even from Tigray. And then there was no any proof to prove that it was TPLF or any Tigrayan who was behind that killing. Okay. The same thing with Semenyo Bekele, who was the engineer of the Renaissance Dam. He immediately finger-pointed TPLF was behind the killing. And again, the government itself announced and said he killed himself. Exactly. So there are so many killings going on. For every killing, and the head of the Ethiopian army, General Saare, was killed. He immediately finger pointed at TPLF. So for every incident that was taking place, he finger pointed at, and then when the confirmation comes up, it does not add up. Yeah. The killers of the head of army are still not known. Nor was the wife was not asked, because she was there when he was killed.
Okay.
None of the family members were taken to court and asked questions. So the problem, that's when the problem started. So the war, and then if I go forward a little bit again, what happened was in July 2020, as soon as the federal government, the regional government of Tigray announced that the election will go ahead in August as planned, and then Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came in and national TV said, if you go ahead with this election, he said, young men and women will die, mothers will cry, large number of properties will be destroyed, and a large number of Tigrayans will be displaced. And he concluded at the end, we want you to know that we have made all the necessary preparation to enable us to do this. This was well before November.
Okay. Now, the issue that had been on at the time was the fact that the Tigray Liberation Movement, which is in control of the Tigray area, were told in advance that because of the postponement of the election was a major issue. Because they said, look, there is a virus going around now. Let's postpone the election. This was one of the major issues. And from one of the articles, which of course was used by Tigray, that led to the postponement of the elections, that the government was stating, and of course what Tigray was saying as well, is a major issue, because Article 62.9 of 1995 Constitution was stating that the House of Representatives has the order of federal intervention if a state in violation of constitutional order, and that violation of constitutional order happened in September. So as far as Tigray was concerned, the government was wrong to do that, and they were using that as an issue, which also gives the government a mandate to say, hey, if something is wrong, we have a right we have a right. So I'm looking at it from as if both sides were right in one way or another. Because if there's a war, if there's a virus going on, and then you plan an election, and the election went ahead. So how do you view that? Can I have your opinion?
Well, actually, Andrew put the background for this war, and which was actually mainly the intention of Abiy regime.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, right from the beginning, that to bring the legacy of the past regime, which was oppressive, and for the reason that different nations and nationalities are struggling for. He wants to maintain that status quo. You know? But we cannot finish that one, as Dr. said, actually.
It's a very lengthy.
Yeah, well, actually, we don't have to go that one. But when we start from the very beginning, where Abiy assumed power, we look into the frictions within the APRDF. And because Abiy was part and parcel of APRDF, right away after he established another political party, which he calls Prosperity Party. Then the friction actually increased between the TPLF and the Abiy party, by the way. Because I can say that was a kind of disagreement between the two. That is a power mongering among each other. And Abiy was actually just accusing them because they didn't agree with the kind of political party that he is establishing. And then, right away after that, everything became
going differently in different directions.
In different directions. Because once they are actually in conflict, they will not actually blame each other, but blame each other. And mostly, the blaming from the government became very high and oppressive. Because, look, it was not only on the Tigrayans that Abiy started to oppress the system. It is on the other nations and nationalities, like the Oromo people and like the Southern people, by the way. But because they know each other, because the TPLF was very rival for him, they know what he is, who he is, and how he was brought up from the preceding political party, that is EPRDF. The fighting was actually aggressive.
Now, I have an issue here where the former Prime Minister, Lieutenant Colonel, this is Abiy Ahmed, the former Prime Minister, and this is one of the statements that he made. He says, look, when Ethiopian Prime Minister, Lieutenant Colonel Abiy Ahmed, came to power in 2018, he made significant reforms to the country's judicial system, economy, and foreign policy. According to the article by Haileman Desai, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, TPLF officials were concerned these moves were going to threaten their political and economic position in the country. Hence, TPLF officials started defying orders from the federal government and made overt and covert actions to undermine the delegitimacy of the parliament, defense forces, and the federal government. This issue, when we discussed it in the previous program, you're saying he was definitely right. I don't know whether there was some bit of pieces when Abiy came to power, which were not seen as things that might help in a way that could have started. Because this thing started a long time ago. When TPLF lost power.
Actually, the very beginning, from the very beginning, the intention of the parties that he established as the PP, or Prosperity Party, is intending for a unitary government. By the way.
Exactly. That was an issue.
And that is actually the main category of political forces that broke apart. Between the federal system and the unitary system. And Abiy Ahmed's political party, which is called PP, is actually running the unitary party, while others are actually running the federal system. To which category TPLF belongs? To the federal system, and others actually belong to that category. So, even though others could not fight with Abiy, they started fighting with TPLF.
Because they were saying that TPLF refused to join the unitary government.
Let me explain that.
Yeah.
What happened is, first of all, unconstitutionally, Abiy Ahmed started getting involved on the regional autonomy. He goes to the regions and changed the power of the leaders of that regional government. That is not constitutionally correct. So he should have allowed the residents of that region to choose their own leader. But he got involved and he started demolishing the previous leadership and handpick his own cliques and put in that region. He started in Somalia region, he started in the south zone of Ethiopia, and then what happened was, on the day they had a meeting to form a one party called the PP, he did not tell the TPLF officials the agenda of that meeting. The meeting they have been invited was a different agenda, and then they were going to talk about the issues up and down of the country. There is no peace in the country, so they were going to discuss that. And then he secretly told his cliques they were going to talk about it, but TPLF was left without knowing what the agenda was. As soon as they sat down in the parliament, he told them, you know what, let's leave the agenda that we were going to talk about, let's just discuss about one party. And the TPLF officials clearly said, okay, having one party is not an issue, we can think about it, but we need to read about what that party is about, what the pros and cons are, and then we need to have time. We cannot just come and now bombarded with the agenda that we are not aware of it. So let's have a proper time. Give us
to come back and discuss this issue.
Give us a proper written information of that new party, what it is, what is going to benefit, Tigrayans are going to benefit what, and then Abiy Ahmed wanted to blindfold them and say, don't worry, trust me, let's go ahead. And TPLF said, no, we cannot allow you to blindfold us on this. We need time to read and discuss about it. If it is going to be benefiting our people, we will
go ahead with it.
We will discuss our people. Our people elected us at TPLF. We cannot just sell the vote of the Tigrayans and just tell them we are now PP. We cannot do that. That was the main problem. And then he carried on because they all discussed about it in the exception of TPLF. And then they all decided, they voted, and then obviously the vote was going to be...
of course, they were going to lose that.
So that's how it
Robin, what do you think? I mean, listening to the political cycle now. What do you think?
Well, I think what Addis Ababa has just said is a very clear overview of what's happened. I tend to look at things, because that's quite a detailed approach. I tend to look at things from a much broader perspective. So, for example, when looking at what's happened since the Abiy kind of leadership has started, I don't know if you've ever heard of something called predictive linguistic analysis.
Predictive?
Yeah, it's something that lots of kind of intelligence services use, and lots of marketing people use. And they look at the internet and to see what kind of words are used on trending. And they cross-reference those and they do things with them. It's to predict things and to understand trends. Since Abiy came to power, no question, there was much more kind of negative language used about Tigray.
All right.
For example, very early on in his leadership, there was a phrase used which never really seemed to come out of Ethiopia into kind of the Western kind of media arena, which was to, in order to kind of, they don't like the TPLF. So in order to get rid of the TPLF, you have to drain the lake to catch the fish. Now, I recently did some research on this, and this was not created by the current regime in Ethiopia. It was created by the Sudanese government during their attack on the Western Darfur people. And that was about 8, 9, 10 years ago, something like that. And it was a very aggressive approach, completely disrespecting, human life, and so there is some reflection on that kind of mentality going on in Ethiopia. You can see that. So I think that's my response.
There is an issue which couldn't be answered at the time, and it still is something issue which I've seen across Africa quite a lot, and this is the issue. There's a big problem in Ethiopia, just like the rest of Africa, of ethnic federation and ethnic national politics. How does the country unite when it has work to solve these two? There's ethnicity of where you're coming from, and there's the ethnicity of the nationalism, where you get my point anyway. Yeah.
In 2007, I went to Ethiopia, and I travelled actually all around Ethiopia on that occasion. And that was the time of the Ethiopian millennium.
Yeah.
And there was some celebrations going on to celebrate, all the thousands of years of history that Ethiopia has.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was covering the whole of the country. I travelled around, and there were so many people celebrating each other's cultures, so many people engaged in and learning and interested in sharing each other's cultures, learning how to do each other's dances. Extraordinary cultural coming together during 2007. And I witnessed that from below the area below Addis Ababa, all the way up through to Tigray. So, I think this again is a kind of, yes, there are ethnic divisions, yes, there's lots of history, but 2007, that didn't exist, not really in its kind of... 2007? From my own personal experience. Of course, and I was a tourist perhaps, and you could criticise me for that, but that's not what I witnessed, and it was genuine. I travelled in a car, and I was travelling from village to village and place to place, and people were doing that, and they were very happy, and they were celebrating.
There is a day called the Nations and Nationalities of Ethiopia that is being celebrated every year. All nations and nationalities of Ethiopia have been enjoying to celebrate that day every single year. That tells you the nations and nationalities were happy with that because what Abiy Ahmed is trying to do, and his cliques are going to create one Ethiopia which speaks one language and praise one religion, taking us back 50 years back to where the time of Menelik and Haile Selassie and so on. That is not well. Ethiopia is the home of 80 nations and nationalities. They cannot force us to speak one language and pray one religion. That's where he's taking us to.
Okay. Because what is happening at the moment is that Abiy is saying that when TPLF lost power,
I need to get this corrected.
After 12 years.
That is not lost power, though.
When they lost power, eventually all these problems are coming up because they're no longer in power.
No. Let me correct you that one.
Anyway, that's what they were saying.
That has to be corrected.
Okay.
It was a coalition government from Oromo, from Amhara, from the south, and from Tigray. TPLF was only responsible for Tigray and Tigray only. But as a coalition party, TPLF was one of the 4 coalition parties leading Ethiopia in the time of EPRDF. So, even though the Prime Minister was from Tigray, but the decision was not only made by TPLF, they all had their bits to decide, especially when it's to do with their region. The Oromo, the Amhara, the Southern, and the Tigray. So, you cannot say TPLF lost power. To begin with, Abiy Ahmed was elected by those parties, by EPRDF party. He did not come in a different direction. He was making all the wrong or right decisions with them during the time of EPRDF. He cannot just come and say blame everything as if he was nothing to do with them. He was one of them. So he came into power. So we cannot just look. TPLF was not in a position to be a prime minister. There was not any plan for Tigray person to be a prime minister anyway. If you see the previous prime minister, Haile Mariam Desalegn, was from the south. So when that competition came along, Abiy Ahmed came representing Oromo, and then Shfarao Shugrit came representing the southern people, and Dr. Debretsion was there, but he said, I did not want to be competing in this because he is not interested. So no one from Tigray was interested to become a prime minister anyway. So
that's how
the word TPLF lost power is not right.
Oh yeah, because that's what I was informed.
Well, that's wrong.
Actually, the problem is not related to whether TPLF is in power or not in power. And at the same time, you raised about the ethnic federalism is the cause, which I do not agree with
because that's something affecting
Somalia. You are right. Yes, there are rampant saying about this one, for that matter. But it is how to handle those ethnic differences and manage the country. That's the problem. Otherwise, you cannot avoid ethnic federalism.
No, you can't. You definitely can't.
There is an interest because there is self-determination. People have to decide their destiny. Right?
Of course.
You cannot deny that one. But the problem is how to handle that conflict. Because the quality of your management is dependent on how you manage the conflict.
How you deal with the dialogue as well.
With the dialogue.
Yeah. The dialogue,
That's the problem. That's the main problem of Abiy Ahmed region, by the way. Because it has something ambition which cannot be reached and achieved, by the way. Which is, as he said, one country, one language, one religion, or something like that. Even though he does not say bluntly, just in the public. But his intention is said, by the way, like that. Because the first day he assumed power as a prime minister, he said, he praised those regions, those kings, which have been suppressed, the Ethiopian ethnicities, nations and nationalities, by the way.
For over the years,
For over the years. And then that means, that tells you that he wants to bring back those systems, which is impossible to do. But you should be accommodating this.
And just welcome everybody. Now, the issue...
So it's not about the power, by the way, because, well, they have already accepted, by the way, for what they have done. The TPLF has accepted for what they have did before, and then let us run what's coming.
What's coming ahead. Now, there's something about Eritrea getting involved. This is something which we discussed in the previous program. They were saying, oh no, there's very little as far as Eritrea is concerned. That's nonsense. People are dressed up in Eritrean uniforms. Now, the UN and the other countries eventually confirmed that Eritrea was involved into this whole, it even was in Tigray. And some of the killings that are taking place were actually done by Eritreans. Now, in the beginning, they said no, there were never any Eritreans there. Now they're saying, oh, Eritreans were involved. Now, how do you guys see the involvement of Eritreans as far as this issue? How does it go and it gets involved with them and then they said, now you can go and attack these people? What is going on? Because it's extremely difficult. Why would the president of an entire country allow an army from a different country? It goes with it beats us.
Exactly. Well, actually, before
would there be any answers to this?
When he made a peaceful agreement with Eritrea, would that led him to get a Nobel Prize? That was a fabricated peace agreement. It was not. The agreement was to attack Tigray. That was they were consulting, because if that was the case, the issue was between Eritrea and Tigray, because we are the border immediately.
You're the border.
Exactly. So what was if there was a conflict, it was between us, between Tigray and Eritrea. So if he was genuinely getting a peaceful agreement between the two countries, he could have taken the head of government of Tigray with him to Isaias or to Eritrea. He never did that. Isaias never came to Tigray, and Abiy Ahmed never allowed Tigrayan leaders to go with him and talk. So that was completely, we left aside. He was not interested to make a peaceful agreement between the two people. But what happened was, when the border was opened, the entire people from Eritrea was flooding to Tigray. So when they knew the people each other that there was not any issue between the two people, he immediately closed the border. Isaias, the Eritrean leader. So all these 2.5 years, they have been consulting together how and when
with
to
Eritrea,
attack
the two countries.
Exactly. How and when to attack Tigray. Then what happened was, the day he said the first shot was made by TPLF, that's what he's trying for the world to believe. Well before, I told you earlier, he told everyone in the national TV he is ready to attack us. And then also he was transporting large number of personnel and large number of weapons to the southwest of Tigray and the west of Tigray, well before November again. And he also refused face mask to Tigrayan students. He excluded Tigrayan students to get face masks. And he also blocked the budget completely. So all this tells you a lot. And then from the day the Eritrean government involved in the war, the regional government of Tigray, Dr. Debretsion, came along on the national TV. The Eritreans are involved from the day, on the 4th of November.
From the very beginning,
Exactly. And he said he is willing to have a political negotiation. He was open to negotiation, and Abiy Ahmed completely refused. If he was on the place of being attacked without him knowing, he would have taken that opportunity straight away, if that was the case. And he also denied the existence of Eritrean involvement all along, and then finally admitted. And the Eritrean government did not say anything. Just about a few days ago, he said he admitted it. So that tells you a lot. Why was they contradicting? If they were genuine enough for the reasons why Eritrean government was involved, why wouldn't they tell the truth for the entire globe? They were lying to everyone. Okay. And those are the people who are causing all these atrocities to our people, gang raping, mass killing, destroying all the infrastructure in Tigray.
Right. When we come to blame game, somebody mentioned the former Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, who died in 2012, as a failure, as a person who failed to unite the parties. And one of the things that he says here, Prime Minister Abiy, he says that the unity structure should have been done by Meles Zenawi. When he failed to do that, the beginning of the deeper ethnicity began during his government. Is this true?
No.
It's not true?
No, it is not true. You know, I'm not saying Meles Zenawi was perfect. He had his own. When someone is leading a country, he would do something wrong, obviously. But when it comes to ethnicity, I am sure there are 18 plus ethnic nationalists and nationalities in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
If Meles Zenawi may not complete the entire interest of the entire nations and nationalities, but if I believe what Abiy Ahmed is trying to finger point at, why wouldn't he improve it instead of making it worse?
Exactly.
Why would he improve? Why did he make it worse?
That's a very good explanation.
Why would he take us to one Ethiopia, one language, one nation, instead of improving whatever mistake was happened by Prime Minister Meles? Why wouldn't he improve it? Why did he make it worse?
Maybe some mistakes are very difficult to correct. How do you see that?
No, well, actually, that's a pointless.
Yeah, it's a pointless one.
It's pointless, to be honest, because, as he said, if Meles actually made in bringing together the ethnicities and considering their issues, then why not he did so?
Why not
corrections? But we see that the increasing conflict between ethnicities now rather than before, by the way.
It's a divide and rule kind of thing. It's a divide and rule.
Aggressively prevailing now than ever, by the way. Killing among the ethnicities, the nations and nationalities is now increasing. Than ever, by the way.
We are seeing this all along. Now, I'm trying to find out what, as a middle person here, who's in the middle here, Robin, what do you think should be the solution? Because everything that we are doing in life, there has to be some kind of a beginning or a solution.
When Meles was in power, during that period, the Ethiopian government made a decision which was to amalgamate all the land in the country, so it's actually owned by the state.
Okay.
Prior to that, it was actually owned by individuals who lived on the land and who worked the land. So peasant farmers and subsistence farmers, who, by the way, they're not interested in going to war. Subsistence farmers are very poor,
of course,
and they're not interested in going to war at all. They like not going to war, exactly. So when that happened, I was a bit worried about that, because what it does is it creates a question mark over ownership of land. How long am I going to own this land? Do I, in fact, own this land? Does the government own the land, or do I own the land? I have to pay money in rent to the government, so just before I didn't. So you got all these kind of questions that start arising. And I think that is where the fear the seed of the fear has come from. However, the actual origin of this, in my opinion, is that when Menelik was kind of courted by all of the Western Europeans and so on, he eventually came down and decided that he was going to use Roman law.
Oh, Roman law.
Yeah, and Roman law is very peculiar. It's extremely administrative, and
that's taking back to centuries.
It's extremely. Well, I'm coming to it. I'm coming to something. It's extremely administrative, and you can fabricate things in your imagination. Which you can do that with every law, but it particularly lends itself well to that because it's very bureaucratic. The reality is in Africa, in Ethiopia, the Ethiopia that I've been to, is that it's very tribunal based. So people come around, they solve a problem together. They have arbitrators who will go out to on site, and they'll speak to people directly, and they will get their story, and then they'll go to the other person, and they'll get their story, and then they'll come back and they'll think about it, and then they'll go back and they'll try and arbitrate.
Okay.
So these are problem solvers. These are natural problem solvers in the community who get on with doing the job. The legal system that's best suited to that, and I know I'm English, but it is the English legal system, because it's tribunal based.
Okay.
We are in Britain. We are a tribal people as well, as in most other places, and it's a natural. It's what we call natural law, and I think that the administration, the governmental administration in Ethiopia, actually is hamstrung because it uses Roman law. That's my view.
But the thing is, don't you see, which allows an element of a dialogue. The system that you had explained to
the tribunal system.
The tribunal system allows some kind of a dialogue.
Absolutely.
Where people can sit down and come together and say, oh this is it. But it has come to such a big way that when I was trying to get people to come to do this program, and getting the other side of the other doctor to come in and sit with the people from Tigray, and there is that element of no, we can't do that. And I'm saying, hang on a minute, why can't you do that?
It creates a lot.
Ghanaians
have done it, Ugandans have done it, and bring them here. It tells a lot that you need, that thing has to come somehow, regardless of which political party you support.
Let me tell you, actually, Dr. Andrew brought actually some good kind of resolving conflict between tribunal. This is mostly common in Africa, and particularly in Oromia. We have a special system for that matter, which we call Gada system.
Somebody explained that.
Exactly. Well, they are actually deciding what they want to do, and including who is going to lead them, including what they need economically, culturally, and so on and so forth. Even they resolve conflicts among each other. But now, Abiy dismantled this system.
Wow.
I can say it's dismantled. And if they are existing, actually, they are actually the surrogates of him. They are serving his interest.
Now,
they are serving his interest.
I need to acknowledge a number of people who are watching this program, and some of them are in support of what you say, and I think there are very probably somebody has written something here I think it's in Oromo or Ethiopian language, which I can't get, but Temesa Emantu Wedi, thank you for watching. You have to explain why friction between EPRD and TPLF worst and worst. Abiy accepted the peace agreement with the Eritrea. That is why TPLF became against the Ahmed administration. That's one lady saying that. Ulster Beye, TPLF was the only power to stop misinformation. That's another lady called Beos. None of them says good. Ulster Beye said TPLF had the absolute power for 27 years, and that is a fact. Then Tesfa Usekt, these names, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing them wrong.
The name is not important.
It says, it simply says thank you very much. TPLA had the absolute power for in every sector for the country, and then obviously TPLA was the only power to stop misinformation. That's a repetition. So they go on and on. Asa Equity, Isas Ekweki is a dictator. So Abiy Ahmed, Eritrea. Oh yeah, the man in Eritrea. Okay. Beyonce says stop the genocide in Tigray, please. And then Eritrea troops out of Tigray. Take action, please. That's Keros Hangos. Abiy Ahmed lies and lies and lies. That is Beyonce. Then stop the genocide, please. Integrate. So someone repeats that. No. After firing a lot of missiles to the capital city, which is Asmara, and Genot, could you please stop that? Tigray firing missiles. So the list is going on and on, and it's quite a massive one. You got a lot of people watching, and they are sending in the messages. Solution. has always been my but we can talk about the problems from there.
That's fine.
Because now even
yeah.
I was reading yesterday, they are arresting people in the capital, Addis Ababa. They are picking them out from the streets.
Those
who, 2-3 days ago, things are going on. People are being arrested. Others are being prevented from traveling out of the country. You know, is there a way something can come in? We need the European Union. We need the African Union to come in. Can we find a solution?
The solution
somewhere?
is from a Tigrayan point of view,
yeah.
and I'm sure many nations and nationalities in the country will agree. Number one, the foreign dictator who is killing our people has to leave from Tigray without delay, immediately.
And who is that? That's the Prime Minister.
The Eritrean.
Eritrean. Okay.
But they have been hiding on the uniforms of Ethiopian army.
Yeah.
They said they are leaving, but they are there with the Ethiopian army.
Permission.
Uniform.
Yeah.
They are also wearing the uniform of the Ethiopian army, so they can look like they are Ethiopians.
Yeah.
So the Eritrean dictator has finally admitted that he is there and then he will leave, but he did not leave. He is still, in fact, every time the United Nations and the European Union and the US government gives him warning, he accelerates his action on our people. He kills and kills and kills because his plan is to completely wipe off the entire Tigray from the surface of the earth. So he has to leave first, number one. And the Ethiopian troops are also as criminals as the Eritreans. So both of them have to leave. And then also an open dialogue has to take place. I personally don't believe any peace will hold water while Abiy Ahmed is leading Ethiopia, because he is the cause of all these problems. Ethiopia has never been taken control of by foreign dictator at all. He allowed outsiders to come and invade. Have you ever had any leader in the entire globe inviting a foreign enemy to kill and invade his own land? It has never happened. So that has to stop, and then he has to prepare to sit down and talk if he is really going to be willing. But I don't.
You don't see him doing
for
that?
1 second. Abiy Ahmed's Ethiopia will never do this.
Okay. Now, Tigrayans in diaspora are doing whatever they can. They've done demonstrations. They've done lobbying in parliament here. Several of them have gone in America. They've gone to the Senate. Ethiopians who are doing their level best in Australia, Canada, and all the other countries. They're trying to do that. Now, how do you see this pressure? Could it work? Robin, could this work? Do you think this pressure works? Because other people have tried it and it's not.
Well, you're referring to the African Union kind of pressurizing.
The African Union, the Ethiopians, those from Tigray, in demonstration. There's another demonstration coming up, I think on the 24th, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, which is coming up. Yeah. There's another one maybe in Canada planned, and there's another one in the capital city of USA as well. Now, there are several of them coming up. They put pressure on the Prime Minister. They put pressure on the regional leaders and so on. Do you see them working? Well, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Well, I think you asked the question earlier.
Yeah.
How's this going to stop?
Yeah.
And this answers your question now as well.
Yeah.
Which is the international community have to understand what's happening there.
Okay.
And in order to do that, they have to have access to what's actually going on.
On the ground.
On the ground. So journalists have to go there, speak to people, gather the data, the statistical data, the numerical data, the qualitative data. They have to put it all together, and they have to understand it. Once they understand it, the pressure on the Ethiopian government, because they're very virtue signalling orientated. They're interested in public opinion. Well, they appear to be. I think they'll just have to withdraw. But the trouble is they believe that they can annihilate Tigray in a short period of time.
Okay.
And they started this engagement with the belief that, well, they stated that they would do it in 3 weeks.
Now, do you see a foreign troops as being a solution to a certain extent, allowing an African Union troops like in Somalia as an issue, and said, okay, because we're worried about what might happen once the regional troops of Ethiopia withdraw and the Eritrean troops are gone, they might be still sneaking into the country and committing crime. Can we have an African Union troops as peacekeeping troop in there, or a UN troop, for example?
To go there, you're going to have to ask the people in Tigray if they want that.
Yeah. But you can't find
people in Tigray are very scared of anyone in uniform at this present time.
Okay.
Every time they see a uniformed army, they are holding their breaths. They are going to kill them or massacre them. Or rape them. So they are not safe under these two uniformed armies in Ethiopia, in Tigray. So the only solution is for these all armies to leave. The Amhara expansionists are taking lands and leaving our people homeless. More than 1 million people are homeless because of the Amhara expansionists. Article 48 of the Constitution clearly says if anyone is claiming any land that belongs to them, they can only sort it out in a legal way. They cannot force. They cannot come and force someone to take their land. So all these are illegal things are happening. Abiy Ahmed cannot even talk about the constitution for 1 second because he completely demolished it. He's not following the constitution. So the solution is all these armies to leave Tigray completely, and then a peacekeeping army has to take over. That is the only solution. Otherwise, they are killing them. They are raping them.
Yeah, that's something that has to be agreed on, because when you are saying everybody has to leave, then time comes and the place might become lawlessness. Like
the lawlessness is taking place now.
Yeah.
No, the lawlessness is taking now. Gang raping, killing, demolishing every infrastructure in every part of the country, looting every belongings of the individuals, and then they are refusing them to do their agricultural things in about a month. It will be rainy season in Tigray, in Ethiopia. That is being prohibited. If that takes place, the entire country will be dying in hunger. So the lawlessness is worse now.
Okay.
A peacekeeping mission would have been better. If they are all gone, there is nothing worse than the current lawlessness in Tigray. It has never happened in the history of that country at all. This is the one and only leader who is coming, doing every wrong thing to our people.
Yeah, he is saying that the situation has improved quite a lot, and the improvement that has taken place, he has even at some point allowed the Al Jazeera has been in there, the BBC went in there. Okay, people were saying what had happened to them, but he said this has happened and it's in the past now. The situation is different. Too much pressure was put on him. He allowed the BBC in, he allowed Al Jazeera in, and he allowed CNN in to go and see the areas where the fighting
he did not stop. He did not stop the crime.
He allowed them, but at the same time, he is putting them in prison.
Really?
He is threatening them, by the way.
Yeah.
They cannot move freely unless and otherwise he or his authorities allow them to do so.
Okay.
But let me go back to the kind of intervention, of military intervention or something like that.
Yeah.
Look, Eritrea is now invading the country.
Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah.
The main one is Tigray, by the way. Now, because of the pressure that the international community put on him, he said that they will withdraw. Actually, they did not withdraw.
They're still there.
They are still there, and some of them were actually moved to Oromia, by the way.
Oh, right.
Where Oromia have been under the command post for about 3 years.
Yeah.
So it is not only resolving one side of the problem, while the whole country is actually in mess. So there is a moral failure and a legal failure of that country. And it has to be resolved radically, I can say. And that is to make Abiy go for that. And then you can arrange with the international world how it can go, by the way. I cannot say that the military intervention is a good idea.
It's not.
It does not end, because it does not end, by the way. We don't know how they are going to how they are going to operate. Because the Eritreans came. It's not only war. They raped and they looted everything that the Tigrayan people have. The same thing that are actually moving to Oromia and doing now. They have started that one because the international community because of the Tigrayans, now they have moved to Oromia.
Okay.
This is a clear and evidenced information by him. Yeah.
Now an issue was raised here in the previous program, and that was the fact that with most of the Tigrayan leadership either dead or in prison, if we are to sit down now and say who is going to lead the Tigrayan Liberation Front and say we have their leaders, they are here in exile, in waiting, and something is going to happen, and this is what we plan to do. Is that sort of structure there? Because at the end, at the moment, they don't seem to be a structure like that there, unless we get people like you.
First of all, the ones who are in prison and the ones who are killed are the retired former TPLF who were in power before, but they were completely retired. One of them is almost as old as 90 years old. He's behind bars. They were all retired. The ones who they say they killed are also retired TPLF comrades.
So you've got the youth coming in.
The ones who are in leadership are still in leadership. Our leader is there. His comrades are in there. So they are there to talk. But as I said earlier on, if I may just mention a few points, the main solution to this one is not Abiy Ahmed's Ethiopia is not going to resolve all this problem. And also, the international community is trying to do an investigation to investigate the crime. But the problem is one of Abiy Ahmed's comrades, who was handpicked by him, the head of Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, Dr. Daniel Bekele, is going to be involved in that investigation. Are we really saying that Daniel Bekele will go to Tigray and say Abiy Ahmed did this wrong, he did that wrong? He wouldn't. He is only interested if Amharas are killed, or if he's trying to twist that statement to Amharas victimization, he will be going there. Otherwise, he is not interested. So that is number one thing that has to be resolved. The other issue that has to be resolved is before they start investigating, the people who are causing all these problems, the perpetrators should leave completely, so the people can give their true statement without any fear. Otherwise, if the perpetrators are there, how on earth is anyone going to tell what happened to them? It is impossible for the international community to get the true picture of the victims. So that has to be done before they start investigating.
We're running out of time. You wanted to say something about this?
Yes, to answer your question. You were asking about leadership.
Yeah, exactly. Because I have a reason why I'm asking
that. Yes, well, what I've been hearing, so I can't say any further more than that. It's just what I've been hearing, is that the younger generation coming up in Tigray have their own ideas, and their own viewpoint, and they are apparently very articulate in being able to communicate that. So I think the Tigrayan future is quite strong in terms of leadership. I don't think they lack anything for that.
It's the unity issue which I've been looking at, which having seen the various groups that are coming up, the American group have a leader, the South African group has a leader, the English group here have people who are leading in various ways, but they're not coming up to get one particular leader who is leading the TPLF.
Are you talking about the diaspora type?
The diaspora one, and then even the one in Sudan, where they are at the moment. So many refugees have run. There is that element that, we have one man who is going to, we have an organization, and we have one particular person, either from Oromo or from where, but there has to be somebody to lead the structure, that the way the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Movement, had Arafat, for example, going around the countries soliciting.
We have three representatives in the diaspora community, by the way, just for you to know. We have three representatives of the TPLF in the diaspora community who are representing TPLF if there is any dialogue that needs to take place. So we have three representatives of the TPLF government in the diaspora community. So that has to be known. Even though Dr. Debret, the leader of the Tigray government, is not in the diaspora, we have three legal representatives represented by the TPLF government, by the Tigray government, who can speak on behalf of the Tigray government. So that is not true again.
Someone in America and Canada were giving me a different story. I'm sorry, I'm speaking from a point of view as a journalist.
We have got 3 representatives.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah,
you're saying something because we have got, the time has run out.
The Ethiopian and actually Eritrean communities and actually other Ethiopian communities are coming together.
Okay.
Actually, since November.
Yeah.
So this is, it's work in progress.
Okay, it's a work in progress.
And so I think to expect a kind of coherent leadership and stuff, it's a bit early.
Yeah.
I think, you want to leave it a year or two before that starts.
Okay, that's great. I wanted to have a last word, but I think that we've run out of time.
Well, actually,
in terms of leadership. Yeah.
Well, every political organization has its own structure, different layers, by the way.
Yeah.
When the issue of coming together comes, they will resolve that one. They will bring actually.
Okay.
They will select or elect among themselves who can lead and represent them. Then the issue can be resolved. The issue it should not be an issue for the third party.
Okay.
It should be their issue, their own party's issue, by the way.
Okay.
They can resolve it. Okay. The same thing to OLF or to any representation.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that was because they were saying, look, okay, if we are getting several people were saying different things about, so and so is not representing us, or so and so, which meant that they need to come together first and make up, because now the European Union, the Australians, and all the others want to meet those ones.
We have representatives,
and then those representatives have to speak with one voice.
We have representatives.
Okay. I think we've totally run out of time, and I think we've totally run out of time. But I do want to thank you so much for coming on the program and giving us an insight on what is going on in that region, because with everybody down who is online and has been watching us, I'm sorry I couldn't read all your names because the time has caught us with us. I just want to thank you once again for coming here and giving us an insight on that. I do hope we'll be together again next week for another edition of Africa Speaks. Thank you very much, and may God bless you all.
We also thank you for giving us the opportunity to express our feelings, what is going on in our country.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon on the other issue.
At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them. At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them. At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.